Salem's Revenge by the Prowler. My name is Reginald Dexter, an Englishman on holiday in the States, Massachusetts to be specific. Me and my family are here visiting the Dark Years theme park, a park renowned and known worldwide for it being entirely made up of horror theming. All the rides, restaurants, stores, everything is of the macabre variety. It's a horror lover's dream. From witches, of course, being a stone's throw from Salem, to ghosts and demons and bloody killers. It's a horror paradise. We awoke early this morning, myself, my wife Leslie, and our son Charles, and ventured to the park, vowing to be the first in line to enter, at least one of the first anyway. We wanted a full day of fun, frights, laughs, and delights. We were going to ride everything, and we were going to taste everything, and we bloody well did. It was a cool October day today, so we didn't have any problems with having to stave off Mother Nature. The park hits you with the horror right away when the ticket person reveals the prices for admission. I was gouged right away by the deep stab wounds, and I hadn't even tangled with any of the killers in the park yet. I put away my annoyance and soldiered on, of course. We were there, so of course I was going to pay whatever it took, even at the cost of a few limbs. Once inside, we hit the park quickly. First, the Demon Winds roller coaster, advertised as the largest and fastest in the States. It was quite the rush. I know it made my cheeks tighten. Next up was the Stoolsabub Rapids, a long plume ride centered around the ancient demon of shit. Let me tell you, it had some of the largest and steepest drops I've ever experienced on a water ride. We were drenched by brown water by the time it was over. On the way out, I bought Charles a stuffed Stoolsabub plushie as well. He loved it. Next up, after we entered the first themed area of the park, called Prowler's London, I was excited. A killer from my neck of the woods had his own theme land in the park. Quite exciting. I had heard about him and his exploits my whole life growing up and learning about him in school. The whole area was beautiful, looked to resemble old Victorian London, the shops and buildings and the cobblestone streets. The cast members dressed in Victorian garb. Everything was spot on. And of course they even had a cast member dressed as the Prowler walking around. They had several dark rides in the area, themed and centered on individuals associated with the Prowler, and we rode them all. The best, however, was the Prowler's Night Out, a dark ride where we entered many carriages and were driven around as the Prowler slayed his victims. Beautiful visuals, beautiful theming, excellent ride. After that, we went back into the main park and took several pictures with the characters that were roaming around. The highlights were Stoolsabub and Prowler, of course. Trust me, there's no more funnier and frightful sight than seeing a giant costume demon shit prance around all afternoon and evening. That alone was well worth the price of admission. Then we hit the horror-themed shops, bought a souvenir or two. Headless, demented beanie babies, anyone? We then made our way to the old Salem witch area of the park, the entire land themed to that time period. Lots to do there. We spent hours inside, riding every ride. The highlight was the Witch's Revenge, a roller coaster with the steepest drop I've ever been on. Night was approaching as we entered back into the main park. We decided to get something to eat before we continued on with the next set of rides. There were countless restaurants to choose from. We ended up settling on Madame Mina's Cabinet of Curiosities. The restaurant was themed with spiritual and demonic delights, and the food was delicious. I had the Prowler's porterhouse, best steak I've ever had. My wife got the stools above stew. Don't let the name or the look fool you. It was also delicious. And my son got Big Al's Demon Cheeseburger. We all enjoyed our food, and we were soon back into the park to ride some more rides. We rode a countless variety of more rides, more coasters and water rides, motion machine rides. But the best of the night was the park's version of the Haunted Mansion, called Salem's Revenge. Witches and ghosts, its story is centered around a ghostly witch that haunts any man who has entered the land, and definitely any man who rides this ride. I'll tell you what, it was definitely one of the scariest haunted house rides I've ever ridden. Before you leave, a warning is given to beware, and take caution, for the witch has cursed you with a demonic spirit that will accompany you for the rest of your life. Real scary, cutesy stuff. Scares the hell out of the kiddies. I know my son was filling his pants. Little did I know, however, that's when the night and my life forever changed. When we left the ride, we caught the parade and finished the night going on a few more of our favorite rides. As we walked, however, the rest of the night I could swear I could hear speaking. Whispers in my ear, if you will. I chalked it up to just the crowds around me and hearing people talking all day. But then the whispers started telling me to do things, evil things. All I can hear is to murder anyone and everyone around me. Then they started telling me to murder my family. I was just getting tired, I thought. It's been a very long day, surrounded by horror and macabre delights. I would be fine after a good night's sleep. We made our way out of the park and back to our hotel room. I thought everything was fine because I stopped hearing the voices. But as soon as we stepped foot back into our room, I heard the whispers again. My wife and son got cleaned up and ready for bed. While they were doing that, I pulled out my laptop and started writing about today's events in my laptop's journal. Now here we are. As I write this, my wife and son are laying in bed watching a movie, trying to fall asleep. I just went into the bathroom to splash water on my face. But when I looked up into the mirror, my face began to melt in the reflection. I panicked and started clawing at my face. I then closed my eyes, and when I opened them, my face was back to normal. The voices are no longer whispers. They are now screams. They want me to murder my family. The spirits from the ride followed me home, and I can't fight their demands. My hands are gripping the chair tightly. I can't take it anymore. I must murder my family. As I get up, I picked up the chair. Now, I will bludgeon them to death. Not Scared of Anything by GMRZW4. I was probably about 5 the first time I worked in the haunted house that my parents own. I was in a little frilly dress with my hair in pigtails and blood dripping from my eyes. I followed the customers around silently, then let out a blood-curdling scream at a certain point. Grown men tried to run away from me. I've done every part of the haunted house. I've been corpses and monsters. I've tortured people and chased others around with chainsaws. Nothing scares me anymore. And now I am the manager of the haunted house. Technically, my parents still own it, but I run it. I am there every night. I get the actors, teach them what to do, and lead by example. I am scarcely home in October, and I can't speak for the first week of November because of all the screaming and wailing I've done at the house. But it is worth it. I'm at the haunted house tonight. My kids, Jax and Kaylee, are old enough to help out here, but I made them stay home to do their homework. I go on break after a 2-hour shift and see 17 missed calls from them. My text inbox warns me that it is nearly full, and I open it, hoping that they were just having a fight about who got to choose a movie to watch. Someone pounding on the door. Jax won't let me open it. Says it looks like he means trouble. Seriously, are you going to call back? The police came, said there was no one here, and got mad. The texts go on like this for a while. I call. No reply. I call again. Still nothing. I don't even say anything to anyone. I run to my car and jump in, hoping that I can make the 45-minute drive in time. My phone rings. Kaylee's name pops up on the screen. I answer. A man's voice is on the other end.
You still have 45 minutes before you get home. We can have a lot of fun here in that time. And don't try to call the police. Hang up this phone, and I slit their throats.
I speed like a maniac, hoping there are no cops on my route this time. My children's screams of terror and pain are the soundtrack of my ride home. Tears stream down my face, and I brush them away so I can see. Then everything goes silent. Call lost. I jab the callback button. Maybe it will be fast enough.
You hung up.
I lost the call.
You hung up. It's over.
No, give me a chance. I lost the call. I didn't have time to call anyone.
It's over. Do you hear that silence? That's the bodies of your children. The children you couldn't save.
With that, he hangs up. I keep driving, though I know it is futile. I thought I wasn't scared of anything. Turns out, I was wrong. Script to the Haunted Mansion Ride. Deleted author. When hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls, whenever candlelights flicker, when the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. Welcome, foolish mortals, to the haunted mansion. I am your host, your ghost host. Kindly step this way. There's no turning back now. Our tour begins here, in this gallery, where you see paintings of some of our guests as they appeared in their corruptible, mortal state. Please drag your bodies away from the walls and into the dead center of the room. Your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding, almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. Is this haunted room actually stretching? Or is it your imagination? And consider this dismaying observation. This chamber has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always my way. Oh, I didn't mean to frighten you prematurely. The real chills come later. Now, as they say, look alive, and we'll continue our little tour. And let's all stay together, please. There are several prominent ghosts who have retired here from creepy old crypts all over the world. Actually, we have 999 happy haunts here, but there's always room for 1,000. Any volunteers? If you insist on lagging behind, you may not need to volunteer. And now, a carriage approaches to take you into the boundless realm of the supernatural. Take your loved ones by the hand, please, and kindly watch your step. Ah, yes, and no flash pictures, please. We spirits are frightfully sensitive to bright lights. Do not pull down on the safety bar, please. I will lower it for you. And heed this warning. The spirits will materialize only if you remain safely seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside. And watch your children, please. We find it delightfully unlivable here in this ghostly retreat. Every room has wall-to-wall creeps and hot and cold running chills. Shh, listen. Oh, it's Madame Leota. Spirits and spiders, tale of a rat. Call in the spirits wherever they're at. Rap on the table. It's time to respond. Send us a message from somewhere beyond. Goblins and ghoulies from last Halloween, awaken the spirits with your tambourine. Creepies and crawlies, toads in a pond, let there be music from regions beyond. Wizards and witches, wherever you dwell, give us a hint by ringing a bell. The happy haunts have received your sympathetic vibrations and are beginning to materialize. They're assembling for a swinging wake, and they'll be expecting me. I'll see you all a little later. Here we see the bride, in sickness and in wealth. You may now kiss the bride. We'll live happily ever after, till death do us part. Here comes the bride, as long as we both shall live, for better or for worse. I did. Ah, there you are, and just in time. There's a little matter I forgot to mention. Beware of hitchhiking ghosts. They have selected you to fill our quota, and they'll haunt you until you return. Now I will raise the safety bar, and a ghost will follow you home. Please exit to your left by stepping away from the cars with your left foot first. Step out and stand on the moving platform. If you would like to join our jamboree, there's a simple rule that's compulsory. Mortals pay a token fee. Rest in peace, the haunting's free. So hurry back. We would like your company. Hurry back. Hurry back. Be sure to bring your death certificate if you decide to join us. Make final arrangements now. We've been dying to have you. A Dozen Things to Remember at the Carnival by Lucky Number. Welcome to the Carnival. Just a few things I'd like to go over with you all before you get started enjoying the attractions. When in the maze of mirrors, remember, they can't get out of the mirrors as long as you are watching them. Our haunted house is currently malfunctioning. We apologize. If you're invited in by the smiling man in a top hat, don't enter. When using the restrooms after dark, you must use the buddy system. If you should lose your buddy, we insist you take a new one. Enjoy the Ferris wheel. It's the tallest one in the state. But when your car is at the top of the wheel, only look down or close your eyes. Several months ago, a pair of occupants reportedly looked out over the fence that borders the park and didn't like what they saw. They jumped. Madame Meliachna is a new attraction here. She'll read your palm if you're nice. But if you, well, just make sure you be nice to her. Make sure you visit our zombie shooting gallery, where you can win various prizes. Don't go crazy on the ammo, though. We can't let inventory get too low, just in case. You'll notice multiple cans grouped together near all trash receptacles. Please be advised, the green can is for plastics, the brown is for general waste, the black is for glass, and the white cans should remain sealed at all times. The leprechaun, who can guess your weight, is a real hoot. However, if he asks your kids to join him in the photo tent, make sure and decline his invitation. The merry-go-round is an old classic. The children always love it. Just remember, they can't stay on the ride forever, no matter how attached they get. I know you all want the best seats for Mr. Mysterioso's magic act, but just a heads up, do not arrive more than 15 minutes before a show starts, unless you're volunteering for cleanup duty. Here at the Carnival, we currently have no clowns on staff. With that in mind, we aren't responsible if some turn up in your family photos. Please take advantage of the bottled water for sale throughout the park. Our drinking fountains aren't advisable to use, as there's a small possibility that water from the neighboring water park has been leaching through to our wells. Have a super duper day and bring your friends next time. I Operate a Haunted Roller Coaster by SalamiMommie. I operate a haunted roller coaster is probably a better way to word it normally. I work at a local amusement park and have to push the button to let riders prepare for the scare. I would tell you where it's located, but I'm quite scared to for a few reasons. One of those may be for my safety. Another would be for yours, if you felt like investigating. It's a pretty cool indoor attraction, though some would call it cheesy. The rider gets on the small coaster that has 8 rows on it, 2 riders per row. It moves rather slowly and filled with animatronics. The first turn shows a foggy graveyard where hands pop up and down in front of the tombstones. Past the turn is where you see bats hanging and a vampire that stands near the coaster and always says, "I want to suck your blood." It goes straight for a short time and cuts right. That's where you'll see mannequins with sheets over them that make some spooky ghost moans. It continues on where you hear some screams and a blow mold of a werewolf head pops up behind some fake bushes when you hear some howling. You then go slightly uphill when you see a tiny cottage. The door is always open and an animatronic witch with a long nose comes out with a broom in her hand. She has 3 catchphrases. "I'll get you, my pretty." "Come inside if you dare." Or it's just cackling. She then goes back into the house. There is a door that slowly opens with a few funny mirrors that make you change size on the walls. A zombie about grabs you while you go down a mild hill at a slightly accelerated speed. Then you see a few mummy decoys and a Frankenstein before it turns back to where you unload and new riders get their turn. I walk towards the attraction with my spooky outfit, which is a butler's outfit, and a mug full of black coffee. This job was supposed to help my college tuition. I was the only one down there so far. Not too long, I would be joined by a beautiful brown-haired girl who I've had a crush on ever since I got here, and an older guy who decided to do this with his retirement. We'd all take turns, usually hitting the buttons and making sure guests were clear. I sat down my coffee cup and looked at a few of the cameras that are secretly hidden so we could see and be alerted if someone tried to sneak off the coaster, which has happened before. I looked at the panel where all the knobs and buttons are and saw a note. "Good morning. Part of your task today is to walk through the attraction and make sure everything looks good to go. Make sure there's no trash and everything is in order. Use your walkie and let me know once the job is done. Tim." That felt so weird to me. Usually it was maintenance to do a daily walkthrough. Some middle-aged guy named Frank comes and checks the sensors and makes sure all the spooky guys are doing what they're supposed to. Either way, I reached below to where we keep the flashlights, and I went walking on the trail. The only time we ever had to be inside is when the ride breaks down and the lights are already on. Walking in felt eerie. The lights were off, and the music was playing. Usually I have to hit a master start button to get things rolling. I assumed that maintenance came through and hit it. Sometimes they do. I turned the corner and walked past the graveyard where the hands were moving up and down. I shined my light down towards the tracks to make sure no one threw down anything like snack wrappers or sunglasses. I shined my light towards the arrows painted on the ground and keep moving. I walked right past the vampire who said his line when my foot got near a sensor. I went past the ghosts and past the werewolf. I felt nervous, though, because I could have sworn I saw the wolf blink. I made my way up the hill and shined my light towards the cottage. It was clean around the area, but something was off. The witch didn't come out. I figured I'd have to contact maintenance and let them know before guests get in and find out. I shined my light towards the door and noticed the door was open, but I couldn't see her propped back. I walked to the little prop home and peeked my head inside. She was nowhere in there. I shined my light all over, and I pulled out my walkie. "Hey, Tim, Gerald here. Something weird is going on, and the witch is gone." There was silence, so I repeated it once more. A voice came back through. My, that is a problem." It wasn't Tim's voice. It wasn't even a male's voice. Who is this? I heard a loud cackle. I ran towards the next area where there would be stairs. I could get down and make my way closer to exiting. I got knocked down and felt a heavy weight on me. She was on top of me laughing. "I see you found the note, dear boy." She put her hands around my neck. I hit her in the eye as hard as I could with my flashlight. Sparks shot out her eyes and she rolled off me. I saw a body lying in front of the staircase. It was Frank. She screeched, "You won't get away from me, dearie." I looked back and tripped over Frank's body. I fell down the stairs and blacked out. I awoke in the hospital and Tim was sitting by my bedside. "You had quite a fall. Lucky you didn't break your neck." The witch. The ride closed down for a few hours while we made sure everything was in order. I don't care about the ride. What about Frank? What about him? What do you mean you don't care about the ride? I was so weak and could feel the anger rising up in me. He looked down at me. "Look, we're paying this bill, and you're getting a few weeks paid. For some reason, she disappears the day before it's Friday the 13th. We just have to find her first and do something to stop her exploring. Look, this place brings in a whole lot of money, so when you come back, I'm not sure if I want to come back." Tim let out a sinister chuckle. No, I think it's best if you come back. That is, if you know what's best for you. She might not appreciate you doing that." He stood up. "We'll call you sometime soon." He walked out the door. I got off the phone with my parents and let them know I was fine. I was too scared to tell them about what happened, really. I was surprised when my crush walked in to check on me. Her face was pale white and concerned. She talked about Frank not showing up to work and how the whole ride felt eerie. She talked about how she was concerned for me. What she said next made me speechless. You know how there's always been 5 ghosts in that area after the werewolf? Now there's 6. I don't think that person at Fright Night was an actor. Deleted author. Through the month of October, my local amusement park has a huge event called Fright Night. The park is doused in decorations and lights of orange, green, purple, and red. Actors dressed like zombies, killer clowns, and possessed kids wander around and scare patrons as they pass. It's a tradition for a group of friends and me to go and enjoy the haunted houses. This year, my friend sent me a link from the park's website with a special announcement. Anyone going to Fright Night could win a free season pass for next year if they took a picture of 30 actors in the park, not counting those in the haunted house. Now recently, the prices for tickets have spiked to the extreme price of $50 a pop, and tossing that on top of the expensive amusement park food, and a quarter of my paycheck, poof, gone. Gone, baby, gone. Since I've put myself on a budget so I can move out of my parents' house and get a place of my own before I turn 25, I'm 23 now, I've pretty much cut having fun out of my life if it goes above $20. I accept your challenge, greedy amusement park. We went one rainy Saturday night, and I let my friends know about the offer. In the beginning, it was easy as pie, as the tunnel which leads to the park has almost a dozen actors creeping in the thick, artificial fog. 11 pictures so far, only 19 to go. Unfortunately, the further into the park we went, the fewer actors there were scattered throughout. After the first 2 haunted houses, only 5 more photos were added to the collection. I wasn't too worried, since I still had a few hours to find 14 actors. I got a bit more successful in the next 2 hours, but I got a lot of repeat pictures and some offended normals, who I might have thought were zombies just because of a deep limp or strikingly pale skin. I apologized and kept it moving. A little more than a half hour left, and I had 26 photos. My friends aimed for another haunted house with a long curving line that had to be at least a 20-minute wait. I told them I'd skip this one and use the time to hunt down the last few actors. That way, the rest of the night I could just relax. I wandered around the foggy park, looking in every corner and really eyeing some of the hooded figures who walked by. I had walked into the side of the park where a haunted attraction was closed due to the rain, and traffic was minimal. The noise of the park, playful music and laughing, groups of people, echoed down the dimly lit path. I really wasn't paying attention, doubtful any actors were there looking for people to spook, when I heard a rustling sound. There was a closed-off children's coaster where a tiny train would go in circles. Tall straws of hay blocked it off, but you could still see between some gaps, and I peeked through to see a dark figure crouched on the ground. Honestly, at the time I thought an actor was taking a break. For a second, I wasn't going to take a photo, since it might be intrusive, but I was so close to 30, and if I gave up, I would have completely wasted this night. And money. For nothing. I angled my phone until there wasn't any strands of hay in the way of the camera, and tapped the button. It flashed twice, but it was too fast to get a look at the figure. Whoever it was, though, jerked at the flash, jumped up, and charged the wall of hay like a linebacker. I dashed down the wet pathway as the sound of heavy, stomping feet chased me. I nearly crashed into a group of friends as I entered the busy part of the park, and I looked behind me to see just a group of friends roaming around. My phone buzzed with a message from my friends saying they were at the potato patch waiting for me. I took one more look around me and went to meet up with my friends. "Ha ha, pussy," my buddy Franco laughed when I told him the story, and I forced a laugh back. "Yeah, I guess he got me," I mumbled and shoved his cheese-smothered fry into my mouth. They continued to fling insults of my lack of masculinity when my eyes wandered to a closed gift shop across from our table. Under the shadow to the side of the shop, a figure stood facing us. I felt as if their gaze was targeting me. I wanted to point it out, but I knew my friends would just bag on me again, so I tried not to notice as I continued to eat. By the time we finished and headed to the last attraction, they were still standing there, completely still like a mannequin. The last haunted house was called the Maze of Shadows. I remember the year before would get pitch black to the point where it was hard to even see. We huddled together as we entered the thick fog of the maze. Random doors and sliding windows in the walls would slam open with actors screeching and lurching like they were about to attack. Of course, they weren't allowed to touch anyone. We walked on wet soil, taking turn after turn as the light waned slowly away until we entered the deep darkness. I was holding on to the shoulder of my friend in front of me, but they started to walk faster and faster, and they slipped from my grip. "Hey, Brian, slow down," I said with my hand stretched out in front of me. I bumped into walls like a bowling ball on the bumpers. Suddenly, the person from behind me grabbed onto my hoodie, and I jumped. "Whoa, excuse me. No touching, please," I joked. They ignored me, and an arm wrapped around my waist, their hand groping around. My face turned red, and my lungs grew tight. "Hey, get the fuck off me, man! Get off!" With flailing arms and balled fist, I charged forward. I think I landed a hit right on their nose, or at least something that felt like it, and their arm retreated. I kept swinging my fist until I pushed through a heavy curtain where my friends were waiting. "Dude, seriously?" Brian laughed. "Have you always been this much of a baby?" Everyone laughed until I told them someone was groping me, which made them freeze. Weirdly, though, no one came out behind us. After waiting for 5 minutes wanting to confront the person, we finally walked to the entrance to see they had placed a sign reading "closed." We must have been the last group to go in. "I wonder if it was an actor," Franco guessed, and I got a queasy feeling thinking about that figure I saw. "Should we report it? I mean, that's against the rules and assault," Brian said. "Whatever, let's just go. I still need 3 more pictures, and it's free rides all next summer," I said with forced enthusiasm and started walking to the entrance, forcing the cold feeling on my back away. Luckily, I got 5 more photos as we exited the park. Maybe there would be a bonus gift if you got more than 30. Brian dropped me off at home, and I flopped onto my bed, pulling my phone out of my hoodie pocket to open Instagram, where I had to post the photos with a special hashtag. As I tapped the photos, I noticed one I didn't recognize. Then I thought, I never looked at the picture of that figure behind the hay wall. I went to my photos to get a better look at the enlarged image. The figure was slim and wore a hooded black trench coat with white high-top sneakers and dark blue jeans. They were facing away from the camera, but hovered over something that still is burned into my mind a week later. The body of a young girl laid on the wet ground. Part of her pale face was held between the figure's fingers like a piece of tissue as they cut it off with a knife. Half of her blood-covered skull was exposed, along with her huge eye with a green iris that I could still see in my mind, staring directly at me. I deleted the photo. I wish I hadn't, so I could show the police what I saw, because since that Fright night, my dog barks at my bedroom window as if there's something or someone there, trying to get in. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel for your overwhelming generosity. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories and poems to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchess.ofdarkness and Twitter at duchessofdarkn2. I want to thank all my listeners for your kindness, your encouragement, and your support. It means the world to me. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.